After his brief appearance in The Acolyte, Darth Plagueis, the Dark Lord of the Sith, the master of Darth Sidious, is back. Lucasfilm has decided to give us Palpatine's view of Plagueis after he became Emperor, after the grand plan was complete. Because here's the thing, we know Sidious killed Plagueis, but many assumed he still had a deep reverence for him, especially where it concerned manipulation of the midichlorians to preserve life. Later in the timeline, both in the expanded universe and canon, using cloning and Force Essence transfer, Palpatine would find a way back. But did you know, he often mocked Plagueis? In Sidious's own words, Plagueis was an old fool. It was Higo Damask as Darth Plagueis who came to Naboo, determined to suck the planet-drive plasma, and set the Trade Federation up as its overseers. It was Higo Damask as Plagueis who then set his sights on a confused young man, and with meticulous skill, manipulated him into committing patricide, matricide, and fratricide. Darth Plagueis who took him as an apprentice, sharing some of his knowledge but withholding its most powerful secrets, denying the apprentice his wishes as a means of controlling him, instilling in him a sense of murderous rage, and turning him to the dark side. It was Plagueis who criticized the early efforts of his apprentice, and who once choked him in a demonstration of superiority. Plagueis who denigrated him in private, and yet who allowed himself to be tricked and nearly killed by mercenaries. Plagueis who turned away from the grand plan to focus entirely on himself in a selfish, egotistical quest for immortality. So Sidious, being the successor of the Sith, is mocking Plagueis for being too selfish, because Palpatine is the one who ended up enacting the Sith grand plan, and while both had a knack for dark secrets and immortality, neither were successful in the true sense of the word. Plagueis came close and tried various different experiments. One of these led to the Force fighting back and produced Anakin as a result. And even though Plagueis didn't create Osha or May, he was fascinated by the twins and probably studied the Force magic used by Anastasia and Corral. That's in the new canon, and I wonder if Plagueis ever told Palpatine about the twins, examples of Force magic and Vergence manipulation that created life in unconventional ways. So while Palpatine mocked Plagueis, he was a bit of a hypocrite, because we know he too was fascinated by dark side secrets and turned back to the same questions of immortality before his death. But there's a very important distinction to make. Palpatine's promises versus what he actually cared about. He only wanted immortality for himself, but he used it as a promise, as a carrot on a stick, to turn Anakin to the dark side, the promise to save Padme's life from certain death. He was playing on Anakin's fears. Anakin had already lost his mother, and now he was having dreams of losing his wife. Palpatine saw that as the perfect opportunity to swoop in. It was never about the ability to do it, but the promise of power to entice his new apprentice. And a brand new canon book expands this idea, and Darth Plagueis is mentioned in it. This is set after his death, but the Mune still has influence. And a brand new preview for the novel shows us a follow-up conversation between Palpatine and Vader about the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise, the one Sidious recited to his soon-to-be apprentice in Revenge of the Sith. Adam Christopher's Master of Evil takes place right after Episode 3. It's a canon exploration of the rise of Darth Vader, him coming to terms with everything that's just taken place, Padme's death, losing to Obi-Wan on Mustafar, and getting used to the suit. But the most important part of the book is confronting Palpatine about the quest to overcome death, a power he was promised. But as we know, Palpatine was just grooming him. He lied, otherwise Padme would still be alive. Let's dive into the brand new excerpt. The Emperor's office, at the pinnacle of the Imperial Executive Building, was a large imposing space, dominated by the magnificent curve of the floor-to-ceiling window that spans the far wall. The angular form of the Emperor's throne positioned on a raised platform before it, and right now, the Emperor was indeed looking out from the office window. Behind the turned throne, Darth Vader knelt, head bowed, the deep repeating rhythm of his respirator the only sound in the room. He and the Emperor were alone. The two scarlet-robed royal guards that provided customary, unnecessary security had been dismissed as soon as the Emperor's apprentice had arrived. Time passed, the world outside silent beyond the glass wall. The air traffic was thick, even deep into the Coruscant night. Finally, the Emperor spoke. He didn't turn around, and from Vader's position, it seemed like his master's cracked voice came from everywhere but nowhere. I sense something within you, my apprentice. Vader's head jerked up at the words, but he didn't answer. He just stared at the back of the throne. Desire, said the Emperor. He gave a short, low chuckle as the throne turned around of its own accord until the master faced his apprentice. Beneath his wide cowl, only the lower portion of the Emperor's face was visible. Eyes of yellow glittered from the dark shadow within. You have a thirst for power, Lord Vader. This I am pleased with. But it is your thirst for knowledge I find interesting. The Emperor leaned forward, just a little, his voice dropping to a high, sibilant whisper. The voice of an old and wizened man, which he most certainly was not, despite appearances. Inches away from Vader, he says, "Perhaps you saw something in the cave on Mustafar." Still no response from Vader, but he lowered his head in supplication. "Or perhaps something in that cave saw into you," the Emperor continued. At this point, Vader looked up. The Emperor's death-white face was now exposed by the lights. "Power you already possess, my apprentice. The more you have, the more you seek. The thirst for it will drive you, as it drove all the Sith. This is good." The Emperor paused, and his voice dropped again. "But knowledge can be a dangerous thing. There are some aspects of the dark side you will not learn until you are ready, and it is I who will decide when the time is right." Once again, Palpatine proving Vader was a mere servant, a puppet. He hesitated. "I seek only answers, my master." His breath filling the space again before he continued. "You once promised to guide me along the pathways of the dark side." "Take care, Lord Vader," the Emperor snapped. "There are secrets I have shared, and secrets yet to be unlocked. Your journey is still in its infancy." "Yes, my master." "Ambition is good, my friend, but it may also be your downfall." "Yes, my master," Vader repeated, and then his head snapped up. "But I am ready to learn. You said you could teach me." The Emperor stood up, his speed belying the apparent frailty of his body. He stepped forward and looked down at his apprentice. "You were enamored with that story, were you not? The tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? Oh yes, the dark side has the power to hold back death, even to venture beyond it." The Emperor stepped closer to Vader, pointing one gnarled finger at him. "This is what you want to know, isn't it? The secrets that lie beyond. You think they will allow you to be reunited with her, do you not? Your beloved Padme." At this point, Vader was filled with anger. However, his blank gaze did not waver from his master's glare. "It is what you promised, my master." The Emperor dropped his hand, his face twisted with sudden rage. "There is much you must learn, Lord Vader, including patience." A wry smile played over the Emperor's features. Vader took a step backwards as his master held out both hands, and from the tips of his bent fingers burst an onslaught of blue lightning, the forks of which seemed to be drawn to the shape of Vader's body, embracing him in a cradle of cackling, snapping pain. Vader was lifted off his feet and fell backwards. He hit the floor on his side and rolled over, the power still coursing from the Emperor's outstretched hands. "Remember, Lord Vader, there is no power in the Force that is not mine, for I am the dark side." And there you have it, my friends. Like I said, Palpatine was a manipulator, and he never intended to divulge any secrets, not even to Vader. It's ironic, he accused Plagueis of being self-centered, but Palpatine was far worse, and a leading theory is that he's the one who killed Padme during childbirth. Fans say it's impossible that she died of a broken heart, so from a distance, maybe Palpatine sucked the life out of her. But what do you guys think of the preview for the new book? Did you enjoy the way it continues themes from Revenge of the Sith? Let me know.